I'll start with the Browns right at the top here. We've talked about this on a couple of these other streams. They've split their first team reps between Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson. They want to see this go into the pads. They want to see it possibly go into these preseason games. Deshaun Watson seems to be the leader in the clubhouse, from my understanding. The Browns aren't outright saying that. So that's just from the information I've somewhat gathered. And I think Monken's kind of laid out, no timeline for this decision at all. Well, if we look at the system they're going to be playing in, I think that plays a factor in this as well. Todd Monken has always run kind of a system that is kind of under center, kind of a lot of packages there, and then he wants the QB to kind of spread it out and have some option packages. Well, Monken has made it very clear, even when he was hired, that he loves the idea of quarterbacks getting more and more athletic and being able to move around and allowing them to really have some fun playing when you spread things out for your quarterback. That is much more Deshaun Watson than it is Shedeur Sanders. Even with the injuries Deshaun Watson has gone through, talking to some people around the league about the fit, a lot of people kind of responded with the likes of, if Deshaun Watson was himself, 100%, we're not entirely sure where he is, like in terms of the mobility being back to what it was after multiple Achilles. Like, it fits Todd Monken's system much more than it fits Shedeur's system. Now, Todd does have the ability to manipulate it and change it. Some of these crossing routes, these dig routes, more of just a quarterback concepts. He's done it in the past. But it does seem to fit, in some people's eyes, Deshaun Watson more than it fits Shedeur Sanders. Now, why does Deshaun kind of be a front runner? Why would they do that with the contract kind of expiring? It's essentially this. It's very similar to the Colts with Anthony Richardson. You hate to see a guy picked near the top of the draft with a ton of talent go play well in another building. So they want to get one maybe fun final look on the $230 million they spent on Deshaun Watson, the draft picks they gave up on Deshaun Watson, and go, let's see if we can, in the last year here, if he can actually play. We'd hate to see him not really give him a full honest chance, and then he goes somewhere else and plays great. I mean, man, that'd be so Browns, but that'd be what every other team tries to avoid, is a quarterback playing well in another building. And guess what? If Deshaun Watson doesn't play well, if he wins the job, doesn't play well, is it the worst thing in the world for the Browns to be top near the draft in 2027 when they desperately need that quarterback of the future? Let's see. Shedeur Sanders has certainly made up a lot of ground. He has certainly improved. I know that firsthand. You have to remember he was a developmental prospect. They needed him to speed up the entire process, from his processing to his footwork to his arm. Everything needed to be sped up. That's happening. They needed his footwork, which was not very good in college, to get better. That's happening. They needed him to go through his progressions quicker. They needed that to happen. It's happening. He is improving. He is closing the gap. He is, by all intents and purposes, having a very good offseason. Now let's see what he can do when training camp rolls around. The other point is, if he wins the job, and wins it outright, is that the worst thing in the world? No, it's not. He's under your control for the next couple of years. But this is kind of up in the air right now. Where it stands is Deshaun Watson's kind of the front runner over Shedeur Sanders. We'll see if he can continue to close the gap once things get more of a competitive atmosphere with the pads on. Let's go to the Raiders. This one's kind of an interesting one. Some people are debating, hey, if Fernando Mendoza is playing better than Kirk Cousins in camp and the players know it, why are you going to start Kirk Cousins? Nobody's putting that on Clint Kubiak right now, putting that on Tom Brady and John Spytek, and saying that they're making any mistakes right now. What they're saying right now is that Kirk Cousins is slated to start the season with the direction everything is going. Fernando Mendoza, by all accounts, had a very good spring, to my understanding. He improved. He has a lot to work to do under center. He's even grabbing guys at the team hotel, working in the hallway. They've loved his work ethic, his leadership. All of these things have really, I don't want to say blown away the Raiders, but they've been extremely impressed with what they've seen with Fernando Mendoza. This offense, Kirk Cousins in this offense, he could coach this offense. He knows it so well. He knows it inside and out. And there are light years between Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins. The plan, to my understanding, is to have Kirk go out there and go look at the beginning of this season, the schedule the Raiders have, yikes, difficult, to go watch Kirk play in this system with his mind. That's what they want Fernando Mendoza to watch. Watch how Kirk wins games and wins reps and wins downs with his mind. We clearly know that, no slight to you, Kirk, Fernando Mendoza is a better athlete, a better player in terms of physical attributes. All of those are clear. They're there. He was the number one pick in the draft. But they want him to continue to grow and develop and learn from a guy that knows his system inside and out. Now, if he clearly beats out Kirk Cousins in training camp, and he's clearly the better quarterback, and he can operate the offense, they're not just going to trot out Kirk Cousins. If it's Vaster, that is, it doesn't work out very well. But I really kind of highly doubt that's a lot of ground to make up for Mendoza in training camp. Not saying it's out of this question. He'll do everything he can to get there as quickly as possible. But you see him playing at some point this season? I think we do. But right now, where it stands, Those are the things that they want Fernando Mendoza to grow and learn at. The one trait that I know he has during my draft prep, talking to a ton of people, is that if he gets rocked early and he is like, he's getting hit, those type of things, it's not going to phase him. He bounces back very, very well. And I think that's an important trait to have when you're a young quarterback. This is an interesting quarterback room, right? You have Michael Penix, you drafted 2 years ago at the 8th overall pick. Man, the previous coaching staff was wowed by his ability to spin the football and throw it, and just really loved a lot of things about his game. The first thing we have to say is that group's not here anymore. That staff that picked him, that front office that picked him, none of them are there. So the ability to kind of have a group backing you, if you're Michael Penix Jr., saying we need to justify this pick or we're going to lose our job, we're going to give him extra opportunities, that oftentimes happens when guys are picked at the top of the draft. That's not happening for Michael Penix Jr. in this quarterback battle. It is a completely new front office. It is a completely new coaching staff. When I asked around about this quarterback battle, essentially what I got back was this. The traits of Tua Tagovailoa in terms of throwing the football over the middle of the field, operating under center and play action, which Michael Penix Jr. didn't do a whole lot last year, all those things, the skill sets, the things that we've seen Tua Tagovailoa be very good at in the NFL, they kind of fit what Kevin Stefanski runs. It's a very easy picture to figure out what Kevin Stefanski likes to run, what Tua does well, and it does kind of fit. You could say that Tua probably is the front runner heading into camp by the sheer factor that Michael Penix Jr. hasn't been cleared to do everything in the spring. There were many more reps taken from Tua than there were from Penix, just because Penix couldn't do everything. So that gave Tua a leg up. They're both on equal playing field learning this system in essence. It's brand new for both of them. But I do believe there were some other factors at play. Because remember, Tua has led the NFL in passing at one point. He's led the NFL in completion percentage at one point. And the decline in the last couple of years, I was told that there were some factors in Miami that played a factor in that are not factors in Atlanta. So there's some things that were going on in Miami that people close to Tua and people who have been around Tua and people understand him are not going to be at play in Atlanta. And I think that's going to be in Tua's favor right now. And with Michael Penix, they want to see if he can live up to the ceiling that is there of being picked as a top 10 pick. There's a lot to like about his game. Does he want to throw over the middle? I know the previous staff, talking to them, had some issues with him almost hesitating, almost wanting everything to be too perfect over the middle, not just gripping it, doing exactly what's told, go. It's almost like he's almost trying to do too much in certain given times. Can he get over some of that and reach a higher ceiling? Because I do think Tua has a lower ceiling. But right now, you would say that this is kind of open. Tua's the leader right now because of the factors of injury that are at play. Keep an eye on Penix being cleared to play at the start of training camp. There is a possibility of that happening. If that happens, I think that really helps him in this quarterback battle tremendously.